Life often cloaks its most precious lessons beneath layers of hardship and adversity. At times, amid our relentless striving and hope, all we are left is a hollow sense of disappointment and emptiness. We ask ourselves, where did I go wrong? Yet perhaps the answer does not lie in our shortcomings, but in willingness to confront profound truths that are neither easy nor comfortable to accept. Stoicism, an ancient philosophy, promises no paths or sages. It calls us to face reality directly, with a steadfast heart and a liberated, no embellishments, no illusions, only the unvarnished truth. And within that truth, happiness is a deliberate choice. It does not. For those steeped in the spirit of Stoicism, happiness is not a matter of chance, nor a gift dispensed by fate, nor a condition dictated by external circumstances. It is the result of relentless inner cultivation, the fruit of choice renewed each day. Therefore, happiness always lies in control. In life, people often tether their happiness to forces beyond their grasp. The perfect job, the ideal love, the approval of others, or material success. Yet external things are ever shifting, never truly ours. If the foundation of this rests on such fragile grounds, it will crumble with each upheaval, each unforeseen change that life brings. Stoicism puts forth a bold proposition. Happiness does not arise from the world outside, but from the way we interpret and respond to it. As Epictetus taught, it is not things themselves that disturb us, but our judgments about them. It is our inner attitude, not our circumstances, that determines our emotional state. When faced with failure at work, you are presented with two clear choices: to wallow in self-pity and resentment, or to view the setback as a precious opportunity for growth and learning. In the same storm, one person crumbles while another rises. The difference lies not in the event itself, but in the choice of response. Choosing happiness does not mean denying pain or pretending well. Stoicism never advocates or escapism. Rather, it calls us to confront loss, hurt, and disappointment with clarity and resilience. This is not found in a life free of storms, but in the ability to remain steadfast to the fiercest tempests. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher-emperor of ancient Rome, recorded in his Meditations, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the self, but to your estimate of it, and this you have the power to revoke at any moment." This timeless reminder teaches us that happiness comes from mastering the world, but from mastering our perceptions. In reality, every day presents countless small choices related to happiness. To let go rather than cling to anger, to practice gratitude instead of resentment, to act rather than complain, to rather than harbor hatred. These small choices, accumulated over time, forge a resilient and free inner life. Under the Stoic lens, happiness is a skill to be cultivated, much like the blacksmith tempers steel in the fire, or the artist refines each craft. It demands perseverance, patience, and awareness of the present moment. Imagine someone caught in a sudden rain. He can curse the weather, vexed by the wetness, or he can smile, feel of the rain, and even find beauty in the unexpected. The rain remains unchanged. At times, life tests us with brutal losses, losing a loved one or facing personal failure. In those moments, a Stoic does not ask, "Why me?" but instead, "What lesson is being offered here? What remains within my control?" These questions keep agency alive and prevent the outer world from overwhelming the inner life. Seneca, one of Stoicism's brightest lights, once wrote, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." Much of our unhappiness stems from magnifying fears, replaying worst case in our minds, rather than anchoring ourselves in the present and taking practical. Choosing happiness, therefore, is also about mastering our thoughts and imagination. Another essential aspect of choosing happiness is gratitude. The Stoic cultivates gratitude not just in prosperity, but even amid hardship. When losing something, rather than cursing fate, they give thanks for having had it. When facing adversity, they see it as a chance to forge character and spirit. This unconditional gratitude becomes a wellspring of enduring happiness. Change everything that happens to us, but we always retain the power to choose our response. This is the one that no person and no circumstance can ever strip away. Choosing happiness, in the Stoic sense, also means accepting our limitations and those of life itself. It is not a passive surrender, but conscious and wise acceptance. By discerning clearly between what is within our control and what does not, we focus our energy on the essential rather than squandering it on the impossible. Choosing happiness, not a one-time act, but a lifelong commitment. It is the decision to rise, regardless of the weather or our mood, and to live with courage, gratitude, and mindfulness. Through the Stoic principles, every moment becomes an opportunity to practice calm amid adversity, to choose kindness over bitterness, to nurture joy instead of resentment. When happiness is understood as a deliberate choice, life itself is too. Change is the only constant. Do not resist it. Grow. If there is one thing life never relinquishes, it is change. Change is the fundamental nature of all things. It permeates every moment of time, breath of existence, from the smallest shifts to the grandest upheavals. Stoicism, with its sharp clarity and mindful awareness, long recognized that resisting change brings only suffering, while embracing and adapting unlocks inner freedom and true strength. Life does not consult us before it changes. It does not or bargain. Change can strike like a sudden storm, sweeping away thought was safe. A hope we believed eternal, dissolve. A stable job vanish overnight. A healthy body can fall ill without warning. What seemed guaranteed turns out to be a fleeting illusion. The Stoics emphasize that it is not change itself that wounds us, but our mistaken expectations should remain the same. When the mind clings to stability, it builds an imaginary fortress that can be toppled by the lightest gust of fate. To be strong is to understand. Nothing is truly permanent, except itself. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, all things are in ceaseless motion. Nothing remains still. Life is a fur. If we awakened each morning with this awareness, we would face each event of the with greater flexibility and steadiness. Accepting change does not mean abandoning all effort to improve life. On the contrary, it means recognizing that amid all our plans and endeavors, we must keep our minds flexible enough to adapt. In this way, change becomes not a threat, but part of our growth. Consider the transformation of a caterpillar into a fly. Within the cocoon, it undergoes painful and radical change. The egg dissolves and a new form emerges. Metamorphosis, the caterpillar would never know the vibrant feces that await. Similarly, every upheaval in life is an invitation to transcend old limits and discover new dimensions of ourselves. Stoicism also teaches that change does not come only from outside events beyond our control. It also arises from within. The foundation of freedom lies in changing how we see, think about, respond to the world. Epictetus advised, do not seek to have events happen. but wish them to happen as they do. This is not a call to resignation, but to cultivate wisdom, to adapt intelligently and actively to an shifting reality. Resistance to change is often rooted in fear of loss and uncertainty. Yet the more we resist, the more easily we to confusion and despair. When life unfolds differently than we imagined, the Stoic learns to recognize fear and overcome it through understanding of life's nature. We can learn from nature itself, where everything moves and transforms without clinging or resistance. Trees shed their leaves in autumn. Rivers accept every twist and bend on their journey to the sea. There is no struggle, only adaptation. By observing nature, the Stoic cultivates a spirit that flows with the currents of existence. Itself is seen through new eyes. 2. Change is the only constant. Resist it. Grow with it. If there is life never relinquishes, it is change. Change is the fundamental nature of all things. It permeates every moment of time. Once the necessity of change is fully understood, the Stoic no longer clings anxiously to external reputation, wealth, status, even life itself belong to the mutable world. What must be preserved and strengthened is character and wisdom, qualities that depend on ourselves alone. Accepting change also unleashes tremendous creative energy. When we are no longer bound by the fear of loss, we dare to think, act, and explore new possibilities. Rather than clinging to the old, we boldly step into the adventure of a continuous growth. In the great upheavals of life, losing a job, enduring a divorce, facing failure, Stoicism teaches that we always have a choice: to sink into despair, or to see the moment as an opportunity for reinvention. No single event, however catastrophic, can define our entire existence unless we allow it to. Seneca with sight wrote, "It is not because things are difficult, do not dare. It is because we do not dare that they are difficult." As terrifying as it's imagined, what truly paralyzes us is a rigid, fearful mind, a mind outdated patterns, blind to the opportunities for growth. By training ourselves to accept change, we also cultivate a vital skill: emotional flexibility. Instead of being swept away by waves of negative emotions, we learn to observe, understand, and feelings with conscious effort. Thus, we maintain our composure through all life's upheavals. Stoicism also values of preparing the mind for change through premeditatio malorum, negative visualization. This technique is imagining the worst-case scenarios, not to breed pessimism, but to mentally fortify ourselves to face any outcome with calm acceptance. By facing loss in the mind, we are less shocked or fearful when it actually comes. Acceptance of change also deepens our appreciation of the present. Knowing that nothing lasts forever, we live each moment more fully, to love more deeply, to gratitude more often, and to waste less time on trivialities. Ultimately, understanding 3. Not everyone will like you. You don't need one of life's simplest, yet hardest truths to accept is this: not everyone will like you. Stoicism, with its innate clarity, long emphasized accepting this reality is not only the first step toward inner freedom, but also the essential foundation for living a life true to one's value and authentic nature. In society, people naturally crave recognition and affection. To a certain extent, this desire is natural, for human beings are social creatures. Yet when this need becomes when self-worth hinges upon the approval and applause of others, we imprison ourselves in an invisible cage, sacrificing personal freedom for the fleeting nods of the crowd. that seeking universal acceptance is a futile endeavor. Epictetus once warned, "If you aim to progress, be prepared to be laughed at, criticized, even despised." Living according to moral ideals and staying true to oneself will inevitably displease some, for each rates by their own values and expectations. Imagine an artist performing a heartfelt piece of music. In the same audience, some will weep with emotion, others will remain indifferent, and some will criticize. The value of the work lies not in applause or condemnation, but in the sincerity and creative spirit the artist had to it. Similarly, our worth cannot and should be measured by others' approval. Not being one does not reflect a flaw within us, the inevitable result of the diversity of tastes, values, perspectives, and personal experiences in the world. What one treasures, another may dismiss. This is natural and able. Marcus Aurelius wrote into Meditation, "When you are distressed by someone's behavior, remember that they act that way because they believe it is right." This is not an excuse for wrongful acts, but a reminder that each person operates from their own framework and awareness. Understanding this helps us shed anger and resentment, freeing us from the need to be understood or loved by all. The practitioner focuses on living in accordance with inner values, integrity, compassion, wisdom, rather than chasing external approval. Being a good person does not guarantee fair treatment, universal affection. Even history souls, as Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, were misunderstood and sometimes isolated. From the Stoic perspective, striving to please everyone of emotional slavery. It forces us to contort ourselves to external expectation. The life of Socrates offers a vivid example. He faced harsh condemnation and ultimately execution by his fellow Athenians. His way of living and questioning challenged conventional beliefs. Yet Socrates never wavered in his commitment to moral truth. For him, living rightly mattered more than life itself. It is this steadfastness that has immortalized his legacy as a symbol of intellectual and moral freedom. Stoicism teaches that even those who misunderstand or dislike us deserve to be met with calmness and compassion, not because their actions are justified, but because we as Stoic philosophy are called to embody inner nobility. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "When someone wrongs you, think, so not out of malice, but ignorance of the good." This understanding fosters tolerance, preventing us from repaying hatred with bitterness, guiding us instead toward serenity and kindness. Accepting that not everyone will also allows us to focus on relationships that truly matter. Instead of scattering our energy to win general favor, we invest in genuine connections where trust, respect, and mutual understanding takes. We learn to choose wisely those who accept and appreciate our authentic selves, and to release the craving for approval from those who do not resonate with us. In doing, we build a network of relationships that are deeper, more enduring, and infinitely more meaningful than superficial popularity. Moreover, freed from the slavery of needing to be liked, we dramatically expand our capacity for personal growth. No longer shackled by fear of disapproval, we dare to embrace bolder ideas, to live in closer alignment with deepest convictions. Creativity, growth, and autonomy flourish where one feels free to be self. Stoicism reminds us that we have but one life, one finite chance to live fully, to be right and meaningful. To trade that away for the fleeting smiles of the crowd is a loss bear. We are not born to be replicas of others' expectations, best, truest version of ourselves. On this path, we will inevitably encounter glances of suspicion, whispers of gossip, and of loneliness. But the wise understand, true worth is not found in the shifting favor of the masses, but in uncaring for. Life is inherently unfair. Demand fairness. Because one of the first truths anyone who earnestly reflects on life must confront is this: life is unfair. Stoicism, with its frankness and deep understanding of the nature of the universe, long ago pointed out that expecting a perfectly just world is a dangerous illusion. For in reality, the justice we hope for is not always present in the natural flow of things. From birth, face inequities. Some are born into wealth, others into poverty. Some are blessed with health, others burdened with congenital illness. Effort, goodwill, and virtue do not guarantee this will align accordingly. The kind can still be hurt. The diligent can still fail. The talented can still be forgotten. Stoicism confronts this reality, not with bitterness, nor with despair. Instincts teach that accepting injustice as a fundamental aspect of life is the first step toward freeing ourselves from needless. Epictetus, born into slavery, lived his life as a testament to this truth. He did not origins, nor curse the injustices of society. Instead, he devoted all his strength to the one thing he could control: his attitude and response to fate. We can see injustice everywhere. The corrupt sometimes prosper than the righteous. The deceitful may grow wealthy while the honest struggle. Stoic spirit, rather than stewing in resentment or sinking into rage, we focus on preserving our amidst adversity. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Do not be surprised if you entrail deceit, greed, or malice. These are not anomalies. They are the nature of life." When we recognize that injustice is part of the world's fabric, less wounded by it, we cease wasting energy demanding the world conform to our expectations and instead focus on our own maintaining integrity, justice, and compassion. Stoicism teaches that external injustice can inner virtue unless we permit it. Others may take our possessions, our reputation, our physical freedom, but they cannot take away our reason, our morals, or our inner liberty unless we surrender them ourselves. A vivid example of this is the life of James Stockdale, a Navy officer who applied Stoic philosophy during years of imprisonment and torture in a war camp. Despite brutal and unjust treatment, he preserved his mental autonomy, refusing to let his captors break his dignity or his spirit. Stockdale understood that while he could not control what others did to his body, he had authority over how he met them. By accepting that life is by nature, we avoid the trap of bitterness. Bitterness is a slow disease that corrodes locking people into perpetual victimhood. The Stoic refuse. They accept life's harshness without surrendering. They transform injustice into an opportunity to cultivate patience, tolerance, and inner strength. When we abandon the expectation that life must be fair, every good deed we perform becomes pure. Moreover, understanding life's inherent unfairness fosters resilience. Instead of freezing in adversity, we learn to adapt strategies, renew ourselves, and keep moving forward without being paralyzed by a sense of injustice. Resilience, the ability to rise after failure, to act despite unfavorable conditions, becomes a power against an imperfect world. Emphasized, we do not control events, but we do control how we perceive and react to them. In a world riddled with injustice, This mindset forms the bedrock of inner peace. Life's injustices also serve as the true test of morality and virtue. Anyone can behave virtuously in fair and favorable, but only under injustice does true character reveal itself. Those who may see compassion and integrity amid unfairness are truly great. Furthermore, accepting deepens our empathy for others' suffering. Recognizing our own undeserved hardships opens our hearts toward the pain of others. Compassion, thus, grows not from pity or superiority, but from a clear-eyed recognition of our shared human condition. Stoicism never teaches pain to injustice when change is possible. If we can act to right a wrong without compromising our integrity, we must. But if it lies beyond, we are called to release our anger and focus on improving what we can influence. Seneca once said, "It is not events themselves that disturb us, we think about them." By adjusting our perceptions, by refusing to let injustice poison our souls, we preserve our freedom and peace, even greatest trials. In truth, many of history's great figures, from Nelson to Viktor Frankl, even in conditions of extreme injustice, a human being can maintain dignity, hope, and their refusal to surrender to injustice transforms into enduring symbols of inner strength. Broader, recognizing that life is inherently unfair also frees us from unrealistic expectations about the perfection of the world and its people. We accept that everyone, including ourselves, carries weaknesses, flaws, and imperfections. Forgiveness, both of others and ours, becomes easier and more genuine. Understanding that injustice is woven into life also teaches us the lesson of impermanence. 5. You are not the center of the universe. Let go. One of the most fundamental yet difficult truths for human beings to accept is this: we are not the center of the universe. Stoicism, with its broad vision and spirit of objectivity, has long emphasized this truth for cultivating humility, spiritual freedom, and an ethical way of living. By survival instinct, tend to place themselves at the center of the world. From childhood, each individual believing themselves the protagonist of their own story. This feeling is natural, but if left unchecked it evolves into a dangerous illusion. The world must revolve around our needs, emotions, and expectations. Stoicism teaches that the universe operates according to its own laws, indifferent to the desires of any individual. It does not rise to please us. Winter does not come to punish. Rain, illness, death, all unfold as naturals of a vast system in which we are but a tiny part. Marcus Aurelius, in his meditative writings, once noted, "Always remember, you are but a small fragment of the grand whole of nature." This awareness is to diminish human value, but to free us from wild expectations and needless disappointment. We understand that we are not the center. We become less hyper to how others treat us. We care less about glances, criticisms, or negative reactions. For most of the time, each person is absorbed in their own life, with their own worries and struggles, not paying nearly as much attention to us as we imagine. Stoicism emphasizes that true freedom begins when we worry excessively about how we are perceived. When our worth is no longer tethered to the gaze or judgment of others, we are free to live reason, justice, and virtue, rather than drifting like a leaf on the currents of public opinion. One of the clearest signs of the center of the universe illusion is personalizing random events. When someone acts rudely, we assume they intend to insult us. When work goes poorly, we believe the universe is conspiring against us. When others succeed, we feel threatened or jealous. as if their success somehow dates our worth. Stoicism invites us free from this self-referential thinking. Not every rude action is aimed at us. Not every setback is a personal affront. Not every success of others our own value. The world is far larger than the self of any one individual. Epictetus once taught, if someone criticizes you or treats you unfairly, remember, they are acting according to their own perceptions. Do not take it personally. Acting emotionally, the Stoic maintains a serene mind, distinguishing between what belongs to themselves and what belongs to others. Letting go of the illusion of centrality naturally leads to authentic humility. When we grasp that we are but a small part of the vast existence, we grow more modest before life, before nature. Humility is not self-deprecation. It is a clear understanding of our true place within the greater whole. Permanent. Fame, wealth, power. 5. You are not the center of the universe. Let go of the small. One of the most fundamental yet difficult truths. This humility also fosters deeper empathy. If we are not the center, then the pains, efforts, and dreams of others are just as significant as our own. From this, we learn to listen, to understand, and to share, rather than merely defending our narrow self-interest. Marcus Aurelius often reminded him, treat everyone as though they are members of the same body. This view arises from the recognition that despite differences in status, talents, or fortune, we are all interconnected in the vast web of life. Freeing our illusion of centrality also liberates us from much unnecessary suffering. Many of life's frustrations expecting the world to cater to ours. When these expectations inevitably go unmet, experience hurt, anger, and disappointment. Stoicism teaches, change your expectations rather than demanding the world to change. If expecting that everyone must understand, love, or respect us. If we cease demanding that life unfold according to our wishes, we will feel freer, more at peace, and more resilient. Understanding we are not the center also redirects our focus to what truly lies within our control, our attitudes and actions. These are the things we can cultivate and refine each day, instead of wasting energy on matters beyond our influence. Moreover, relinquishing the illusion of centrality does not lead to indifference or detachment. On the contrary, it opens us to a more positive, expansive way of living. No longer chained by egocentrism, we engage with life more enthusiastically and sincerely, not to impress, manipulate others, but simply to live fully and meaningfully. In reality, history's greatest figures, philosophers to leaders like Marcus Aurelius, shared a profound humility before life. They did not see themselves as the center of the universe. When I began to view life through the lens of Stoicism, I gradually realized that true strength does not come to change the world, but from changing the way I respond to it. Each morning upon waking, I remind myself, today, injustices may occur. Some people may dislike. Unexpected changes may arise. Yet none of these things can take away my right to choose toward life. In moments of misunderstanding, instead of reacting impulsively with anger I focus on a simple question. Is this within my control? I act to improve it. If it is not, I let it go. This clear distinction saves me of emotional energy and allows me to preserve inner peace even when the world outside is chaotic. Also learn to accept that I cannot please everyone, and that this fact does not my worth. I choose to live true to the principles I believe in, rather than chasing the expectations of others. Applying Stoic for daily life is not about grand sweeping actions, but about smallest choices, choosing calm over panic, gratitude over resentment, steadfastness over wavering in the storms of life. If today's reflections have brought you value, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you won't miss future content. This simple but meaningful act allows us to continue walking together on the path stronger and freer inner life day by day. Remember, lasting happiness does not come from changing the external world, but begins with changing how we perceive and master ourselves. See you in the next video. To listen, to understand, and to share, rather